Hello everyone, welcome to our today's video. In continuation to our last couple of videos, we are today going to talk about how do you go about collecting requirements. So just a quick reminder of what we did in the last couple of videos. We started our discussions around scope planning, and in that we first understood the difference between requirements and scope, and the other video was about understanding the concept of scope management plan and requirements management plan. The next step in the process or in the planning process is to start with requirements gathering. Now see, requirements are a very important component of project, and not just project planning, but the whole project is built on top of requirements. You can think it in this way, that requirements are the foundation of the entire project, and especially in predictive environments where we go with a mindset that we want to plan as much work in as much detail as early as possible. It becomes utmost important that your requirements are collected properly, clearly, and there are no missed requirements, or you haven't forgotten certain requirements. So it's very important that we make sure that our requirements are correct and complete. So there are a lot of data gathering techniques that one can consider when collecting the requirements. And before I go into the data gathering techniques, understand that requirements are basically the wants, the needs, the expectations, probably the wish list that your stakeholders have. So it wouldn't do you any harm to go and at least collect the requirements from all the stakeholders. It could be different types of requirements, like for example, there could be compliance requirements, there could be functional requirements, there could be safety requirements, there could be reporting requirements, there could be financial requirements. So there might be n number of categories or different types of requirements that you might end up collecting. However, we are not saying that you have to deliver everything. We understand that given the constraints of time, cost, resources, quality, technology, we may not be able to deliver everything. But that's not the point right now. What we have to make sure is that at least we have covered all the requirements, and then we can determine what we will deliver, what we will not deliver as part of the project. So coming back to data gathering techniques, starting with document analysis, we can look into some of our project's existing documents like project charter, business case, benefits management plan, which we already have, or you can say that these are the existing documents in the project that can help us to decode certain high level requirements that already have been documented as part of these existing documents. Once we have that, it sort of basically gives you a good starting point, and then maybe we can also rely on benchmarking. Maybe we have some kind of existing product that we are upgrading or updating, so our current product or current service can serve as a benchmark, that whatever we have been able to, or whatever we have been delivering with the current product or service, we at least have to make sure that our new product or service includes that. Or another way of looking at benchmarking could be, you can maybe look at your competitor's product, or you can do a quick internet search to find out what are the similar type of products that are already successfully working out there in the market, so you can benchmark from them. Then of course you also have to sit down with your stakeholders, especially the key stakeholders, and have a one-on-one discussion with them to understand what their needs, wants, expectations are, especially the people in the high power, high interest category. These are the key stakeholders that you want to have a one on one discussion with to determine their expectations. But you cannot cover all stakeholders by interviews, it will be too overwhelming. So we can also rely on focus groups. Focus group is something where you are basically inviting a set of people from the same speciality or the same function. Say, for example, I invite three or four people from IT to have a discussion about the requirements. Then I run another focus group with maybe two or three people from HR, then another focus group with four or five people from operations. So I can run multiple focus groups to gather requirements from different type of stakeholders. Then you can also run facilitated workshops. The objective of a facilitated workshop is to cover requirements from a cross functional point of view. So now, instead of just focusing on one group, you're bringing multiple groups together, multiple specialities together. Like you have two people from IT, one from HR, two from operations, one from procurement, one from maybe quality, and you all sit down in the room, discuss what can be the possible set of requirements, what can be done, what cannot be done, certain overlapping requirements, certain conflicting requirements can be discussed with the group. Then you can also collect some requirements through observations. Many a times you find yourself in a situation where you go to a group of people asking for their expectations, but you don't get any as such positive response. Could be because of various reasons. However, what we can do is we can align an expert to just sit down, observe their current ways of working, and identify where there is a gap or what can be an opportunity for improvement with the help of our current project. So, say for example, I go to my payroll team to understand what expectations they have, but they don't give me any positive response simply because they are not aware of the technology, or they don't know how the technology has evolved in the recent years. So I asked my one of my experts that you go and sit down with them and see how they are processing the payroll in the current with the current systems. And there my experts can identify that okay, there are certain steps which can be automated with the new system. There are probably certain um, uh, difficult, or they are relying on a lot of manual work in certain aspects of the payroll which can be eased out with the help of our system. So this type of requirements can be collected through observations. Then we also can rely on prototypes. Once we have done the first round of requirements gathering and we want to further refine our requirements, that's when prototyping will help you. Like, let's suppose we are in a project to construct a big shopping complex. Now, before we break ground or before we start the construction in full swing, we will want to have a prototype created just to get everyone's confirmation that yes, this is exactly what they are looking for and this is how the final output will look like. And if they have some feedback, they have some recommendations, or they want something to be done differently, now would be a time to provide that input, because once you start the construction in full swing, going back and changing something can be very, very costly and time taking. So in that case, prototypes can be a good way to further refine your requirements. Coming to another one technique here is questionnaires, surveys, especially when you are dealing with a large group of people. Like, say for example, I want to develop a new attendance system and I want my entire organization, like all the employees, to provide some feedback in terms of what they expect in this new attendance system, and we have an employee count of, let's say, 3,000 people. Now, obviously, I can't go in and do focus groups or facilitated workshops with all of them. So, this is where questionnaires can help me. I can send out a quick questionnaire and um, expect the people to respond by telling that what are the top two, top three things or functionalities or features that they would like to see in the new system that we are discussing here. So once you have got the requirements, using some of these methods or using all of these methods, which is completely up to you. It depends that um, what is the magnitude, complexity of the project, and you might have to use all of them. You may be able to collect your requirements just by using few of them, but that's up to you. And once you have done the requirements gathering, then obviously we want to document them in a way that helps us to trace and track these requirements throughout the project. So this is where we are introducing a document called as traceability matrix, requirements traceability matrix, in short RTM. So this is the document that will help us to keep a trace, or you can say keep a track of all the requirements throughout the project, because it becomes important that we have a documented uh, basis of supporting our requirements that we are going to develop. I mean, multiple benefits, right? You can't, first of all, remember all the requirements, so you have to have a place to document them, where we can just have like a description of the requirement in each row. Then, who's the stakeholder who requested this requirement, because again, at a given point of time in the project, your team might need more clarification or more information about some of these requirements. Then obviously the person who requested this for this requirement would be the right person to approach, and you can find that information quickly from the traceability matrix. Another important piece of information we will prefer you should track is objective, that why this requirement matters, why this requirement is important. This helps the team to develop a better understanding around the requirement, and it's kind of a, you can say, a measure that prevents a scenario where the team has a different understanding of the requirement, whereas the stakeholder had a different expectation. And towards the end of the project, when the requirement is finally delivered, it is not matching the expectations, and then we had to go back and rework some of those things. So to prevent this kind of mismatched expectation, we can have a objective, or we can have this objective defined to help the team to better understand the requirement. There can be many more columns here, like deliverable, status, who's the owner of this requirement, and etc, etc. However, it depends upon organization to organization, as well as the columns right now may be empty, the other columns, because we haven't done the uh, scope planning, or we haven't done the budgeting, or we haven't done the scheduling and resource planning. So those things are not yet available, but as we progress forward in planning, these columns can be populated, and then at the end of planning, this traceability matrix can become, you can say, an integrated document that will help you to trace each and every requirement throughout different aspects of project and different stages of project. So this is about data gathering techniques and how you should document the requirements. If you have any questions, or if there was anything that I wasn't able to explain clearly, please don't hesitate to comment below. We'll come up with our next video on scope very soon. Take care. Bye.